Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, the concerns over the proposed International Stabilization Force in Gaza, as an Arab nation announces it will not take part. It comes amid concerns over what it calls, quote, Hamas enablers, and President Donald Trump calling for a pardon for Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. We're going to bring you the story from Jerusalem. With a Muslim winning the election for the mayor of New York City, should Americans be concerned over Islamists getting involved in politics? We're going to hear from one expert who addresses this issue. The longest government shutdown finally comes to an end, with the House of Representatives passing a bill to fund the government and President Donald Trump signing it. But partisan divisions in Washington are far from over. And another sign of God on the move on college campuses is hundreds accept Christ at a United Us Gospel event at North Carolina State University. All those stories and more right now on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We thank you so much for joining us. It is Thursday, the 13th of November. We're going to begin this half hour in Israel with growing concerns over what the International Peacekeeping Force in Gaza will look like. It comes amid concerns Hamas sympathizers may be involved in reconstruction efforts, and President Donald Trump calling for a pardon for Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who is currently on trial. Paul Petit brings us the story. He's reporting now from Jerusalem.
Israeli President Isaac Herzog confirmed receiving this letter from President Donald Trump, urging him to consider granting a pardon to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Herzog praised Trump for his unwavering support for Israel, but said any pardon request must be submitted through formal procedures.
I do wish that the Prime Minister Netanyahu will be exonerated, but that is according to the Israeli legal system, and any intervention from the outside, as benign and as well-wishing as it is, may work to the contrary, which I hope is not the case. But certainly it shows the great friendship between the two leaders, Trump and Netanyahu.
Netanyahu, who is currently on trial for charges including bribery, fraud, and breach of trust, posted this on X. Thank you, President Trump, for your incredible support. As usual, you get right to the point and call it like it is. In Washington, the White House denied a report that the U.S. is planning to build a large military base in Israel near the Gaza border to maintain a ceasefire.
And the president has been very clear he doesn't want to see boots on the ground with respect to what's happening in the Middle East. We've made great peace. We've made great progress with the peace plan in Gaza, and we want to continue to see that move forward.
But moving forward is meeting with resistance from the United Arab Emirates, which announced it will not take part in the proposed International Stabilization Force expected to deploy in Gaza. The UAE said it does not yet see a clear framework for the plan and views Qatar and Turkey as Hamas enablers.
Well, I think they're right. I think that there is now a real battle, ideological battle, in the Islamic world between the moderate or the pragmatic, like the Saudis and the Emirates. And on the other hand, we have the Salafist movement or the Islamic Brotherhood and Hamas, which is part of it, which are basically controlling Turkey. I also believe that there is no room for Qatar and Turkey in Gaza because they will be just supporting Hamas. And this will not stabilize the situation. It will just do the contrary.
Paul Petit, CBN News, Jerusalem.
We're going to continue our coverage now with our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief, Chris Mitchell. He's joining us from Jerusalem. So, Chris, what more can you tell us about concerns over the proposed International Stabilization Force in Gaza?
Well, Ephraim, from an Israeli point of view, the inclusion of any nations that Israel doesn't trust would be sort of a red flag for them. As we've said, the Israeli government already said that Turkey forces won't be allowed to participate. And I think there's questions from an Israeli point of view is who's going to be in charge of this International Stabilization Force, who's calling the shots, and how do they coordinate between Israeli and Egyptian forces, those two countries that presumably will be overseeing this. And some have actually raised concerns about the U.S. Being too much in charge. There is that civil military coordination center down about a 2-hour drive from where I'm standing right now. And so that's one concern. And Israel really wants freedom of action inside Gaza. They don't want the ISF to be a military or political constraint on their actions inside a post-war Gaza. And one other question or concern, Ephraim, will it be used to expand a Palestinian state? For example, training Palestinian police in any post-war Gaza. So these are many concerns that not only UAE, but Israel certainly has about the ISF.
The United Arab Emirates pulled out of the international force. Could other countries also leave?
Yes, the UAE, as it said, they don't feel there's a clear legal framework for the ISF right now. Jordan has already said it won't send troops under the current terms of the ISF. And other Gulf states are suspicious. And the UAE withdrawal may signal how other states in the region may be, wavering in their commitment to a post-war Gaza. So it could, in essence, be maybe a smaller force. Indonesia, Azerbaijan have been talking about as participants, but Azerbaijan is saying they won't participate unless there's a full ceasefire, and that certainly hasn't got to that point yet. Pakistan is another nation that's been talked about sending troops. And the U.S. draft resolutions that's been sent to the UN Security Council, it really sees the ISF as the main force to keep security after Israel does leave Gaza. And one question that we have talked about throughout the last few weeks, Ephraim, is will there be a Jewish presence at all inside Gaza, that people that could go back to what land that had been given to the tribe of Judah many, many years ago?
And what do we know about the possibility of members of the Muslim Brotherhood being involved in the Gaza reconstruction plan?
Well, right now, Israel doesn't want Turkey involved. That's a main part of the Muslim Brotherhood. I don't believe, well, it does seem like Qatar may play an influential or some influence in the reconstruction plan. They're certainly part of the Muslim Brotherhood. Ambassador Ayalon, his insight, I think, is really holds true for what's going on in the Middle East. There are other moderate Muslim countries like the UAE and Saudi Arabia that really don't want to be part of the Muslim Brotherhood. Egypt, for example, and other nations have actually outlawed the Muslim Brotherhood. That's why some people in the U.S. think the United States should outlaw the Muslim Brotherhood as well. So really, Israel certainly doesn't want any influence of the Muslim Brotherhood that would pose a existential threat to the state of Israel.
As Paul reported, the White House is denying the reports of a plan for major U.S. base in the border of Israel and Gaza. What's been the reaction in Israel to this story?
Well, I think there's been some relief at the denial that there's going to be a major U.S. base right on the border with Gaza. And the idea of large-scale U.S. troops so close to the Gaza frontier, that raises a number of concerns, undermining Israeli sovereignty, questions of who's in charge, the role of all the countries that are in part of this post-war Gaza, including the U.S. There's a question of who's going to be calling the shots, how will they coordinate with the IDF, and what would a huge U.S. base be under a future U.S. administration that actually might be hostile to Israel? Certainly, almost everyone here sees the U.S. administration currently is very friendly to the U.S., but what would happen in an administration in the future that may not be so friendly to the Jewish state?
President Donald Trump is lobbying for a pardon for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, as we heard in the report. Can you tell us about the charges against Netanyahu and what is likely to happen?
Well, some of the charges are bribery, that Netanyahu accepted lavish gifts like cigars and champagne for favors, also breach of trust, using his role as prime minister to gain favorable media coverage. It seems unlikely he's going to be granted a pardon, Ephraim, before the trial concludes or a verdict is reached. He's in legal limbo right now, but actually this may hurt Netanyahu more politically than legally right now.
All right, our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell, thank you for your insights, and we look forward to hearing from you again come next week. Coming up, here at home, more Muslims run for office after Zohran Mandani's victory in New York City's mayor's race. And should Americans be concerned is the question we're going to explore in the story we have for you when we come back. 24 years after 9/11, a foreign-born Muslim will soon be sworn in as the mayor of New York City. His election may certainly inspire more Muslims to enter politics. And appearing on this week's episode of The Global Lane, youth, religion, and culture expert Alex McFarland warns Americans to be careful about political Islamists.
Very real concern about the encroachment of Islam and really the infiltration of Islamists into American government. And look, this is not Islamophobia. It's not any sort of animus or bias. This is just realism. That, in fact, Jim Jordan has a bill where to serve in Congress, you would have to be a natural-born American citizen. I had a 3-hour conversation with one of the principals of the Council on American Islamic Relations. I assure you, Western leftists are very naive to think that they do not desire a cultural infiltration and the ultimate bringing down of America. And so it's just the preservation of the U.S. Constitution here.
Alex, we found this video on X, originally posted by Amy Meck of the Rare Foundation, a group pledged to raising awareness about assaults on freedom. And it's a video of Sheikh Uthman ibn Farouk. He's a San Diego-based imam.
So know this, that Islam will enter every house. Every house. Don't worry about the Islamophobes. They can yap all they want. Their children will be Muslim.
Rumors are circulating on social media that Sheikh Farouk is relocating to Texas to start new mosques, advance Islam and Sharia law in the Lone Star State. He says his goal is to spread faith, not domination. So how should Christians respond?
Well, do you know, Muslims are taught that they are at liberty to lie. It's the doctrine that they can lie for the cause of Islam. And when they say they're here to, quote, spread faith, what does that mean? Faith in what? But no, they are most certainly here to further weave Islam and Sharia concepts into American life to ultimately subjugate and bring down the great infidel. That's us. We're infidels. We're not Muslims. But here, I was in Texas interviewing some of the subs that are working on this big Islamic center. And they said that initially, some of the framers and electricians, they didn't want to work on it, but they were offered up to as much as 3 times the going rate to work and help build this Islamic center. And it is threatening the stabilization and the security of America.
The Texas state government did respond by banning Sharia law in Texas cities. 10 states have laws or constitutional amendments banning it. And that makes sense because you can't have 2 systems of government. Americans believe in British common law and jurisprudence, but we also believe in religious freedom. So is this an overreaction? Do these laws prevent Muslims from freely practicing their faith?
It is not an overreaction. It's very prudent. I would say they should go even farther. They should use eminent domain to take back that. Look, we cannot have jihadist terror cell incubators in American cities. And that's what these mosques and these centers amount to. They really do. If someone wants to believe in Allah, they're free to do that. But that is where it stops.
And it really comes down to assimilation, immigrants embracing American culture instead of setting up enclaves that resemble the country they've left. Farouk has called on young Muslims to flood social media with pro-Muslim posts to advance Islam in the USA. So how should Christians respond to that on social media and elsewhere?
Ultimately, the force that can hold at bay either the iron fist of Marxism or the iron sword of Sharia is Christianity. 2 years ago, the Atlantic.com had an article about the religion of peace. Very meticulous journalism. They said, look, the jihadists are the faithful Muslims. And it's really naive, when we say, oh, Islam is a religion of peace. And I know since 9/11, 25 years ago, we've just been kind of given that mantra endlessly. But the Atlantic.com said the moderate, westernized Muslims are really the backsliders. But here's my point. If you migrate to America, you must assimilate and you must become a patriotic, constitutional supporting America. And part of America, we also support Israel. And that is something no true Muslim can conscientiously do. And as a Christian, I pray for the salvation of the Islamic world, because that is really the ultimate hope, that these people would know the true Savior, the true God, the true Scripture, which is Christianity.
Okay, Alex McFarland, where can people catch your daily radio program and your TV show?
Well, thank you. All things alexmcfarland.com. We've also got a brand new book out on Bible prophecy with fresh research on AI, the Antichrist, the Middle East, 100 Bible questions on prophecy in the end times. It's available at Barnes & Noble and everywhere. And my tour schedule and all that we're doing, alexmcfarland.com.
Okay, thank you, Alex. God bless you.
God bless you, sir. Thank you.
Also on this evening's Global Lane, why religious minorities in Syria feel betrayed by President Donald Trump's Oval Office meeting with the new president of Syria, who was once designated as a terrorist by the United States, and the persecution of Nigeria's Christians and what can be done to protect them without resorting to U.S. military intervention. You can watch the Global Lane this evening on the CBN News Channel at 8 Eastern. You can also watch it on the CBN News app, and it's available on YouTube as well. Still ahead, the government shutdown finally officially over after 43 days as the House passes a bill to fund the government and President Donald Trump signs it in the Oval Office. We're going to hear from both sides and what they've got to say about what's coming next right after this. The longest government shutdown in history is over, but the bitter divide between Republicans and Democrats, it is not. The two sides are still fighting over government continuing subsidies for Obamacare, and a new battle is underway over the Epstein files. CBN senior White House correspondent Kelly Wright brings us the story, reporting from Washington.
In the Oval Office, surrounded by Republican congressional members, President Trump signed the government funding bill Wednesday night, bringing an end to the 43-day government shutdown.
So with my signature, the federal government will now resume normal operations, and my administration and our partners in Congress will continue our work to lower the cost of living, restore public safety, grow our economy, and make America affordable again.
Partisan divisions fueled the longest government shutdown in American history, causing a lot of pain for the American people. Federal workers went without paychecks. Some had to stand in long lines to get food. It also disrupted supplemental nutritional aid for more than 40 million people and forced a reduction in air travel, stranding thousands of passengers. The president blamed the majority of Democrats.
Republicans never wanted a shutdown and voted 15 times for a clean continuation of funding. I want to also thank the 8 Senate Democrats who finally did the right thing in voting to end this craziness, this madness, but unfortunately the vast majority of congressional Democrats were happy for millions of Americans to suffer. They really did suffer too.
Democrats vow to keep fighting for extending Obamacare to maintain affordable health care for millions of Americans.
We're going to continue that fight to fix our broken health care system and lower the high cost of living for the American people.
Also, Democrats on the House Oversight Committee are fighting to release the Jeffrey Epstein files. On Wednesday, they released 3 emails from Epstein that claim Donald Trump knew about the girls. And in another email, Epstein told his former girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, that Trump spent some time with a person that Democrats claim was a victim. The president has denied any wrongdoing. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told reporters that President Trump kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago because he was a, quote, pedophile and a creep. She said Democrats are conducting a smear campaign against the president and a distraction for their failure on the government shutdown. The president, as well as Republicans and even Democrats, are hoping that things can start working and getting normalized with air traffic control and all of the other issues going on as a result of this government shutdown, to get all of that working by the holidays. Very important to accomplish between Thanksgiving and Christmas. At the White House, Kelly Wright, CBN News.
Coming up, another sign of God at work on college campuses here in the United States. We're going to have that story for you when we come back. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. The student revival sweeping America continues. Unite Us Ministry held its latest event on the North Carolina State campus this week. About 6,000 people came out to worship and to hear the word, with hundreds responding to the call for salvation, and 77 of them were baptized. Over the past 2 years, Unite Us has held events at college campuses across the country, and they're growing strong. CBN has produced a documentary on the movement. To find out how you can watch it, simply go to therevivalgeneration.com. Time now for your Thursday Thankful, and today I want to leave you with this prayer of gratitude. God, thank you for loving me. You love me so much. My moments of betrayal are never where your grace ends. Those moments are where your grace begins. May I never lose sight of your grace. With that word, I encourage you at home to make this a thankful Thursday and walk in gratitude from beginning to end. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News channel. You can find them there anytime as well as online. That address is cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. We'll see you tomorrow.